You were never bad with money. You were just never taught on how it actually works. And it's not your fault. It's the system. Schools, silent. Parents, clueless. Your TikTok feed, just a bunch of randos giving advice. So where does that leave you? Drowning in debt you can't escape from, living paycheck to paycheck even when you get raises, and feeling like you're on an endless treadmill, running as fast as you can, but never getting ahead. But what if I told you there's another path? One where you could be debt-free within 2 to 3 years or even quicker, where you're investing consistently and watching your money grow, where you have options, either to quit that job that you hate, help family members, or to start that business that you've been dreaming about. In the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna break down the exact system that I learned through years of mistakes, reading over 25 books on personal finance and money, and how my junior Marines and clients transformed their relationship with money. We will cover how to know your real financial position, pay off debt strategically, build wealth automatically, and avoid traps that keep most people broke forever. Because once you understand these core principles, you will realize that you're probably closer to financial freedom than you think. Before we can fix anything, you need to know exactly where you stand right now. And I'm not talking about checking your bank account balance. I'm talking about the 3 numbers that should live rent-free in your head. Your yearly income after taxes, your yearly expenses, and the gap between them. Most people have no clue of what these numbers actually are. They think that they know, but they are usually off by thousands of dollars. Here's why that matters. That gap between what you make and what you spend, that's everything. That's your wealth building power, and that's what buys you freedom. If it's in the negative, you're bleeding money every month. If it's positive, then that's fuel for building wealth. Now let me show you how to calculate this the right way. First is your income. This is everything that hits your bank account after taxes. Your salary, any side hustles, freelance work, rental income if you have it, add that up all for the year. Don't use your gross income, use what actually lands in your account. Second is your expenses, and here's where most people mess up. They only look at the obvious stuff, like rent, car payment, and groceries. But what about that vacation that you took in July? Or the car repairs in September? Or your cousin's wedding gift? All those little expenses that pop up throughout the year, you need to capture everything. Go through your bank statements for the last 12 months and actually scroll through them. It's painful, but it is necessary. So here's what you're looking for. The irregular expenses that destroy your budget, the subscription that you forgot about, or the impulse purchases that add up hundreds or thousands over the year. Once you have both numbers, subtract your expenses from your income. If you get a negative number, you're in what I call a financial quicksand. Every month, you're sinking deeper. This is your first priority to fix. If you got a positive number, then congrats, you have a surplus. The bigger that surplus, the faster you can build wealth. But here's what's scary. Even people who know these numbers still end up broke. Because without a system to control every dollar, that extra money just disappears. You'll wonder where your money went while watching your bank account stay flat month after month. So let me show you a budgeting system that actually works. Before we get into that, here's why most budgets fail within the first 30 days. It's either too complicated, too restrictive, or too time-consuming to actually follow. So here's a simple approach that works for real people with real lives. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs, 30% goes to wants, and 20% goes to savings and debt payments. Needs are things that you literally cannot live without, like rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, and minimal debt payments. Wants are everything else, like restaurants, entertainment, hobbies, and that subscription that you probably forgot about. And lastly, your savings include your emergency fund, retirement contributions, extra debt payments, and investing. Now, these percentages aren't set in stone. If you're just starting out, maybe you can only manage 10% for savings, and that's fine. The goal is to increase it over time. If you're aggressive about building wealth, then maybe you can save 30 or even 40%. The rule is just a starting point. Here's how to implement this without making it your part-time job. I recommend using a budgeting app that connects to your bank accounts and automatically categorizing your spending. Popular options include Monarch, You Need a Budget, or even just your bank's built-in budgeting tool. I personally use Monarch and have been for the past few years. Yes, it is a paid app, but knowing where my money flows pays for itself. Ideally, you want to check your budget at least once a week. So you want to look at your spending for that week and see if you're on track with your percentages. If you're overspending in one category, adjust it for the rest of the month. Don't beat yourself up about it, just course correct. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness and gradual improvement. But here's the key insight that most people miss about budgeting. It's not about restricting yourself. It's about making conscious choices about what's really important to you. Maybe you don't care about having the latest phone, so you keep your old phone longer and put that money towards travel instead. Maybe you love dining out, so you cut back on other entertainment to make room for more restaurant meals. A budget gives you permission to spend money on things that you value while cutting back on things that you don't. But even the best budget won't help you if you're drowning in bad debt. So let's fix that next. You gotta understand that not all debt is created equal. Here's something that might shock you. Some debt can actually make you richer. I know that sounds crazy, especially if you've been taught that all debt is bad, But there is a huge difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt puts money in your pocket or builds an asset that appreciates over time. So think mortgages, student loans that increases your earning power, and business loans that generate income. On the other hand, bad debt takes money out of your pocket every month for things that lose value. So credit cards for consumer spending, car loans on cars that you can't afford, payday loans, or personal loans for vacations. Here's a rule that changed everything for me. If the debt helps you make more money or buy something that goes up in value, then it might be worth it. If it's for consumption, then it's probably destroying your wealth. Let me give you a framework for tackling debt that actually works. First, list out every debt that you have, the total number, the interest rate, and the minimum payment. Now you have two options for paying it off. Option 1 is a debt avalanche. You pay minimums on everything, then throw every extra dollar at the highest interest rate debt first. This saves you the most money mathematically. If you got a credit card debt at 22% interest, that needs to go before everything else. Option 2 is a debt snowball. You pay off the smallest balance first, regardless of the interest rate. This gives you psychological wins. You see debts disappearing, which keeps you motivated to stick with the plan. So which one should you choose? Honestly, the one that you can actually follow. Avalanche saves more money, but the snowball keeps more people on track. But here's the key. Whatever method that you choose, you need to stop creating new debt while you're paying off old debt. That means that if you can't afford to buy something with cash, then you probably shouldn't be buying it at all. There are only a few exceptions like housing, education that can potentially increase your income, healthcare, and business investments. Everything else, just save first and spend it later. Because every day that you carry high interest debt, you're paying the bank instead of paying yourself. But even if you pay off all of your debt, you're still not safe because the next mistake can wipe off years of progress in a single emergency. Before you start even thinking about investing, before you start dreaming about retirement, you need to build what I call the rainy day fund. This is your emergency fund and it's not optional. Here's why most people don't realize about emergency fund. Life is going to punch you in the face financially. Your car will break down, you will have a medical emergency, you might lose your job, your water heater will die on the coldest day of the year. When that happens, you have two choices. Either you have cash ready to handle it, or you go into debt. I've seen too many people finally get their finances on track, only to have one emergency destroy months, if not years of work. Their car breaks down, so they put $2,000 on a credit card. The credit card triggers even more debt. Soon they're deeper in a hole than when they started, all because they skipped this one step. Most financial experts will tell you to save between 3 to 6 months of expenses, but that can feel overwhelming, especially if you're starting from zero. So here's what I recommend. Start with just 1 month of expenses. Just one. Look at your monthly expenses and save up that amount. This gives you breathing room to handle most small emergencies without getting into debt. Once you hit that first month, keep on going until you hit 3 months save. Then 6 months if your income is unpredictable or if you work in an industry with layoffs. But here's the key. This money needs to be easily accessible but separated from your regular checking account. Don't put it into investments. Don't put it into a CD where you can't touch it. Put it into a high yield savings account where you can get access to it quickly, but it's not so convenient that you spend it on non-emergencies. Right now, you can find saving accounts paying around 4%. That's way better than that 0.01% that most banks are paying. So you want to shop around. Ideally, I would say use online banks or fintechs. They usually offer better rates because they don't have the overhead of a physical branch. If you want a list of some of my recommendations, the link is down below, or you can scan this QR code. So here's a sequence that I recommend. Save your first month of expenses, then tackle high interest debt, then build the rest of your emergency fund while trying to increase your income. Speaking of income, this is where most financial advice completely fails you. It's the dirty secret about personal finance that nobody wants to talk about. You can only cut expenses so much, but your potential to earn more, that's virtually unlimited. Think about it. If you're spending $3,000 a month, the most that you can save is $3,000 a month. And that's if you live on nothing, which really isn't realistic. But if you are making $3,000 a month, you could potentially double, triple, or even 10x that income with the right strategies. Yet most financial advice focuses on 90% on the expense side and ignores the income side completely. Let's say that you're making $50,000 a year and you manage to cut your expenses by 10%. That saves you $5,000 a year. But what if you focus that same energy on increasing your income by 20%? That's an extra $10,000 a year, twice the impact. When I was in the service and helping Marines with their finances, I saw this over and over again. 2 Marines, same rank, same pay. One would focus only on cutting expenses and saving and switching from name brand to generic and skipping that Starbucks. The other would spend that same energy learning new skills and taking night classes. Guess who was better off once they left the Marines? I want to be clear. I'm not saying that saving your money or cutting useless expenses is not important, but there are two sides to this money thing. Defense is the savings and cutting back, but offense is the money making part. Because in reality, there's no limit on how much more money that you can earn, but there's definitely a limit on how much less that you can spend. So how do you actually increase your income? Here are 3 strategies that work. The first one is skill stacking. The highest paid people in every industry have skills that are in high demand and short supply. Look at Meta's new hires. He's signing deals with AI specialists like the NBA. So figure out what skills are valuable in your field, then systematically acquire them. Maybe it's learning a programming language, maybe it's getting better at sales, maybe it's mastering digital marketing. Don't try to learn everything at once. Pick one skill that you can significantly increase your value and focus on that for the next 6 months. Take online courses, get certifications, build projects, and demonstrate your new skills. Then use those skills to negotiate raises or find better jobs. Strategy 2 is strategic job hopping. Here's a fact that might surprise you. People who change their jobs every 2 to 3 years earn 35% more over their careers than people who stay in the same job. This doesn't mean that you should quit your job every year, but it does mean that you should always be aware of what opportunities exist in the market. So keep your resume updated, stay connected with recruiters in your field, and apply for positions even when you're happy of where you are. When you do decide to move, you're typically looking at a 10 to 20% salary increase. Do that every few years and your income grows exponentially. The third strategy is to maximize your current situation. Before you look for a new job, just make sure that you're getting everything that you can from your current one. Most people never ask for a raise, they just hope that their boss will notice the good work and reward them accordingly. That's not how it works. You need to actively make the case of why you deserve more money. Document your accomplishments, research market rates for your position, and schedule a meeting with your boss specifically to discuss compensation. Don't make it emotional, just make it about the value that you bring to the company. Even a 5 to 10% raise can add up to tens of thousands of dollars over time. And while you're building your career, consider starting a side hustle. Maybe you freelance in your spare time, maybe you create digital products or online courses. The goal isn't to replace your job immediately, the goal is to gradually build additional income sources that will give you more options and security. Every dollar that you earn is an extra dollar that you can save, invest, or use it to improve your quality of life. Look, if this is already changing how you think about money, make sure to subscribe because we're just getting started. I've got tons more content about building wealth, fixing your credit, and avoiding financial mistakes that could cost you thousands. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of it. But speaking of extra dollars, there's probably money that you're already earning that's being wasted on something that most people never think about. Let's talk about taxes, because for most people, taxes are their biggest expense. Bigger than housing, bigger than transportation, bigger than anything else. Yet most people put zero effort into minimizing their tax burden. If you are making $60,000 a year, you're probably paying around 15 to 20% in various taxes. Income tax, payroll tax, sales tax, property tax if you own a home. That's 25 to 30% of your income gone before you even get to spend it on anything else. But here's what most people are too lazy to realize. There are completely legal ways to reduce your tax burden significantly. I'm not talking about complicated schemes or risky plays. I'm talking about basic tax planning that anyone can do. The first one is to maximize your 401k. This is the easiest tax reduction strategy that there is. Every dollar that you put into a traditional 401k reduces your taxable income by $1. Let's just say that you're in the 22% tax bracket and you contribute $6,000 to your 401k. That saves you $1,320 in taxes immediately. Plus, that money grows tax-deferred until you retire. And many employers offer matching, which is free money. The contribution limit for 2025 is $23,000. If you can max that out, you can save over $5,000 in taxes depending on your bracket. The second tax strategy is using a Roth IRA strategically. With the Roth IRA, you pay taxes upfront, but then your money grows tax-free forever. This is powerful if you expect to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, or if you're young and you have decades for your money to grow. You can contribute $7,000 to a Roth IRA in 2025. That won't save taxes now, but it could save you tens of thousands of dollars in taxes later. Tax strategy 3 is health savings accounts. If you have a high deductible health plan, you can contribute to a HSA. This is the only account that gives you a triple tax advantage. You get a tax deduction when you contribute, the money grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it tax-free for medical expenses. Even better is that after age 65, you can withdraw HSA money for any reason and just pay the regular income tax, like a traditional IRA. The contribution limit is $4,300 for individuals and $8,550 for families in 2025. The fourth strategy is to understand different types of income. Not all income is taxed the same way. Ordinary income from your job gets taxed at your marginal rate, but long-term capital gains and qualified dividends get taxed at lower rates, 0%, 15%, or 20% depending on your income. This is why wealthy people often take lowered effective tax rates than middle-class workers. They structure their income to take advantage of these lower rates. You can do the same thing by holding investments for more than a year before selling them. Spending a few hours a year on tax planning can literally save you thousands of dollars. Once you start earning more money, increase your investments, or start a business, having a CPA or a tax strategist in your corner is well worth the money. And those saved tax dollars can be invested to build wealth even faster. But speaking of investing, that's where most people either get paralyzed by analysis or make costly mistakes. Here's the truth about investing that nobody wants to tell you. It's not that complicated as the financial industry wants you to believe. You don't have to pick individual stocks. You don't need to time the market. You don't need to understand complex financial theories. You just need to understand one simple concept. Time is the biggest advantage. Waiting 10 years to invest costs you over $300,000, literally. If you invest $300 a month, starting at the age of 25, and it grows at 7% per year, you will have over $700,000 by the age of 65. If you wait until the age of 35 to start, you have around $340,000. That 10-year delay will cost you over $300,000. This is why I get frustrated when people spend years researching for the perfect investment strategy instead of just getting started. While you're spending years researching the perfect investment strategy, your coworker who just started throwing $200 a month into an index fund is already building a sizable portfolio. Every month that you wait, that gap gets bigger. Every year that you delay, that potentially costs tens of thousands of dollars that you'll never recover from. Here's a simple approach that works for 90% of the people. Open up an investment account. I recommend starting with a Roth IRA if you are eligible, or just a regular taxable account if you're not. Then invest into a broad market index fund. These are funds that own a little piece of hundreds or if not thousands of companies. My recommendation is to start with a total stock market index fund. This gives you ownership in basically every publicly traded company in America. Some popular options are VTSAX from Vanguard, FZROX from Fidelity, or SWTXX from Schwab. These funds have extremely low fees, usually under 0.1% per year. They're diversified across thousands of companies, and they have historically returned about 10% per year over long periods. Will they go up every year? No. Some years they will lose money. Then some years they will gain 30%. But over 10, 20, 30 years, they've been incredibly reliable. So here's your action plan. Set up automatic investments, maybe $100 a month, maybe $500 a month, whatever fits your budget. Have it automatically deducted from your checking account and invested into your index fund. This removes emotion from the equation. You're not trying to time the market. You're not wondering if now is a good time to invest. You're just consistently buying more shares every month. This is called dollar cost averaging. When the market is high, your money buys fewer shares. When the market is low, your money buys more shares. Over time, it smooths out your average cost. But here's where age matters. The younger you are, the more aggressive that you can be with stocks. The older that you get, the more you might want to add bonds for stability. A simple rule is to take your age and subtract by 10. That is the percentage that you might want to have in bonds. Everything else is in stocks. So if you're 30, maybe 20% bonds and 80% stocks. If you're 50, then maybe 40% bonds and 60% stocks. This isn't a hard rule, but it is a good starting point. Now, speaking of building your financial future, today's video is brought to you by Gemini. The Bitcoin credit card offers instant Bitcoin rewards on every purchase with no annual fee. Check out the description for more info. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking about cryptocurrency, but don't know where to begin. Maybe you're worried about timing the market or putting too much money in at once. But here's the thing. What if you could start investing in crypto just by using a credit card for your everyday spending? That's exactly what the Gemini credit card does. Every time that you buy gas, grab groceries, or pay for dinner, you're automatically earning Bitcoin rewards that get deposited instantly into your account. No waiting, no annual fees, no complicated investment decisions. You're essentially building a crypto portfolio while building your credit. It's like killing two birds with one stone. The best is that you can earn up to 4% back on gas and transportation, 3% on dining, and 2% on groceries. Those rewards have the potential to appreciate over time, unlike cashback that just sits there. There's also a $200 intro bonus if you sign up and spend $3,000 in your first 90 days. If you are thinking about dipping your toes into cryptocurrency, this is honestly one of the smartest ways to start. You're investing with money that you're already spending anyways. Click the link down in the description or go to gemini.com/namwin to apply and start earning instantly. But whether you're earning crypto rewards or traditional cashback, there's one financial tool that can either make you wealthy or completely destroy your finances. What I'm talking about is your credit. Here's the harsh reality. Bad credit does not mean just higher interest rates. It means landlords won't even rent to you, employers might not even hire you, and you pay hundreds more for car insurance. I've seen people with 6-figure incomes get denied for apartments because their credit score was 580. That's the real cost of not understanding how this works. Credit scores range from 300 to 850. Anything above 740 is considered excellent. Between 670 and 739 is good. Below 670 and you start paying higher interest rates or getting denied altogether. But here's what most people don't understand about credit scores. They're not all about how much money that you have, they're about how reliable you are to pay back the money that you borrowed. I've seen people make boatloads of money with terrible credit scores and people making 40 grand with perfect credit. It's all about your habits. Here are the 5 factors that determine your credit score. Payment history is 35% of your score. This is simple. Pay your bills on time, every time. Even one late payment can drop your score by 50 to 100 points. Second is credit utilization, or the amounts owed. This is 30% of your score. This is how much of available credit that you're using. If you have a $1,000 credit limit and you're carrying a $500 balance, that is a 50% utilization. You want to keep this under 30% and ideally under 10%. Third is your length of credit history, which is 15%. The longer that you had credit accounts open, the better. This is why you should almost never close your old credit cards, even if you're not using them. Fourth is types of credit, which makes up 10%. Having a mix of credit cards, installment loans, and mortgages shows that you can handle different types of credit responsibly. And lastly is new credit, which makes up 10%. Every time that you apply for credit, it temporarily lowers your credit score. So don't apply for multiple credit cards in a short period of time. Here's a strategy that works. Get a few credit cards, then use them responsibly. Pay them off in full every month. Keep your balances low, and just don't close your old accounts. If you're just starting out, then consider opening up a secure credit card. You put down a deposit, and that becomes your credit limit. Then use it for small purchases and pay it off every month. If you have negative items on your credit report that shouldn't be there, you can dispute them. Sometimes old accounts, incorrect late payments, or even identity theft can hurt your score. There are tools that can help you streamline this process, like Credit Rehab Pro, but the key is to be persistent and keep detailed records. But credit is just one piece of the puzzle, because even if you have perfect credit, you can still destroy your wealth with bad decisions about 2 of the biggest purchases that most people will ever make. This is your car and your house. Starting with cars, because this is where I see most people make the most expensive mistakes. The average car payment in America is over $700 a month. Over 7 years, that's almost $60,000. And at the end, you own a depreciating asset that's worth maybe $15,000. But what if you took that same $700 and invested instead? At 7% returns, you have over $75,000 over 7 years. And that money will keep on growing. So here's my rule for car buying. Never finance more than you absolutely have to. And never finance longer than 4 years. If you can't afford the payment on a 4-year loan, you can't afford the car, period. Better yet, buy a reliable used car with cash. Something 3 to 5 years old that's already taken the biggest depreciating hit. I know this isn't sexy advice. You're not gonna impress anyone with a 5-year-old Honda Civic, but that Honda Civic isn't gonna keep you broke either. Save the car you want when you can actually afford it. When buying it won't derail other financial goals. Now, let's talk about houses. This is even more complicated because houses can be both a great investment and a financial disaster, depending on how you approach it. The old advice was to buy as much house as you can afford. And that's terrible advice. Here's better advice. Buy a house that you can afford the down payment, the monthly payment, and all the maintenance costs without stretching your budget. Most people only think about the mortgage payment, but there are also property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, HOA fees, even if you have them. A good rule of thumb is to budget at least 1% of the home's value per year for maintenance alone. So if you buy a $300,000 house, expect to spend around $3,000 per year fixing things. And here's the key question that nobody asks. Are you buying a house because it makes financial sense, or because you think that you're supposed to? If you're not planning to stay in the same area for at least 5 years, then renting may be smarter. If you are not financially stable yet, then renting also is a smart idea. There is nothing wrong with renting while getting your finances together. So don't let anyone pressure you into buying before you're actually ready. But whether you want to rent or buy, there's still one more system that you need to get right to truly build wealth. You can't rely on willpower and good intentions. You need systems that work even when you don't feel like it. Here's how to set up systems that build wealth automatically. First, set up automatic transfers to your emergency fund. Even if it's just $50 a month, automate it. You'll be surprised how quickly it adds up when you're not thinking about it. Second, automate your debt payments. Set up automatic payments for at least the minimums on all of your debts. If you are following the debt avalanche or snowball method, automate the extra payments as well. Third is to automate your investments. Set up automatic transfers to your investment account. This is the most important one because it removes emotion from investing. You're not wondering if the market is too high, you're not waiting for the perfect time, you're just consistently investing month after month. Here's what it might look like in practice. Let's just say that you get paid on the 1st and the 15th of each month. On the 2nd, you automatically transfer your money to your emergency fund. On the 3rd, you make your debt payments, and on the 4th, you transfer money to your investment account. By the 5th of the month, you already paid your future self before you even had a chance to spend money on other things. This concept is called paying yourself first and is one of the most powerful wealth building strategy there is. Don't automate everything at once. Start with one thing, get comfortable with it, then add another. And don't set amounts so high that you'll be tempted to cancel them. It's better to consistently invest $100 a month than invest $500 a month for 3 months, then stop. The goal is to build habits that you can sustain for years, not to be perfect for a few months. But even with perfect systems, there's one more psychological trap that destroys more wealth than almost anything else. I've worked with thousands of people on their finances, and here's what I've learned. The biggest barriers to building wealth aren't mathematical, they're psychological. Some people have limiting beliefs about money that sabotage every financial decision that they make. Maybe you grew up hearing that money is the root of all evil. Maybe that you learned that rich people are greedy. Maybe that you were taught that wanting to have money makes you shallow. These beliefs will unconsciously guide your financial decisions. You spend money that you don't have to avoid seeming cheap. You avoid investing because it feels like gambling. You sabotage your own success because part of you doesn't believe that you deserve wealth. Here's the truth. Money is just a tool. It is not good or evil. It just amplifies who you already are. If you're generous, money makes you even more generous. If you're selfish, money makes you even more selfish. But money also gives you options. The option to help people that you care about. The option to pursue work that you're passionate about instead of just work that just pays the bills. The option to travel, to learn, to experience new things that you couldn't otherwise afford. Building wealth isn't just about buying things to impress people, it's about buying back your time and your choices. But there's another psychological trap that's even more dangerous than limiting beliefs about money, and it's called lifestyle inflation. Here's what happens to most people as they start making more and more money. They immediately upgrade their lifestyle to match their new income. You get a raise, so you move to a nicer apartment. You get a promotion, so you buy a nicer car. You get a bonus, so you go on a more expensive vacation. This is why some people making $200,000 a year have less money saved than someone that's making $50,000 a year. Here's the better approach. When your income goes up, increase your savings rate first, then consider lifestyle upgrades. Let's say that you get a $200 a month raise. Before you even think about how to spend it, automatically invest half of it. Put $100 into your investment account. Now you can use the other $100 for lifestyle improvements. Maybe better groceries, maybe a streaming service, maybe an extra dinner out once a month. This way you're building wealth faster while still enjoying some of the benefits of earning more. The same rule applies to bonuses, tax refunds, and any other windfall. Split them between your future you and your present you. I know it's tempting to spend every dollar of extra income on things that may make your life more enjoyable right now, but remember, every dollar that you invest today is working for you for the rest of your life. The sacrifices that you make in your 20s and 30s buys you options in your 40s and 50s and beyond. Here's what most people don't realize. The difference between financial struggle and financial freedom isn't about making more money. It's about keeping more of what you make. I have personally known people making $40,000 a year who are on track to retire comfortably because they save 20% of their income. And then I have friends who are making at least $150K a year but are living paycheck to paycheck because they spend every penny that they earn. The key is to increase your savings rate as your income grows, not just your lifestyle. Every time you consider a lifestyle upgrade, ask yourself one question. Is this worth delaying my financial goals? Sometimes the answer will be yes. If something genuinely improves your quality of life or helps you even earn more money, then it's probably gonna be worth it. But most of the time, you realize that the upgrade isn't actually what's important to you. You were just considering it because you can afford it now. The goal isn't to live like a monk forever. It is to be intentional about your lifestyle upgrades instead of just letting them happen automatically. And that brings us to the most important point of all. They wait until they're making more money, they wait until they pay off their debt, and they wait until they have their life figured out. But every month that you wait is a month that you can't get back. Every year that you delay investing is potentially tens of thousands of dollars that you will never recover from. Remember that compound interest example from earlier? Starting 10 years later will cost you over $300,000. And that's the price of waiting. Here's what you can do today, right now, to start building your wealth. First, calculate your real financial position. Figure out that gap between your income and your expenses. Second is to set up a simple budget using the 50-30-20 rule. Even if you can't hit those percentages yet, at least you can start tracking where your money goes. Third is that if you have a high interest debt, make a plan to pay it off. Pick Avalanche or Snowball and just stick with it. Fourth is to start with an emergency fund, even if it's just $25 a month. Fifth is to open up an investment account and set up automatic contributions, even if it's just $50 a month. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to start. Here's something that I learned in the Marine Corps. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Every financial journey starts with a single decision. The decision to take control instead of just hoping things will somehow work out. The decision to prioritize your future self instead of just your present self. The decision to do something, even if it's small, instead of just waiting for the perfect moment. I know that this seems like a lot. When you're just starting out, thinking about retirement or financial independence can feel overwhelming. But here's the truth. You don't have to solve everything today. You just have to start moving in the right direction. Save $1, pay an extra $5 towards debt, open up an investment account with $10. The amounts don't matter, the habit does. Because once you start, the momentum builds. That $100 become $10, that $10 become $100, then that $100 become $1,000. Before you know it, you're doing things that seem impossible when you started. And here's something else that I learned from helping people fix their credit and finances. The people who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest or the highest earners. They are the ones who start before they feel ready. They're the ones who take action when everybody else is still making excuses. Your future self is counting on the decisions that you make right now. So don't let them down. The old saying goes, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best is today. And if you're worried about making mistakes, remember this. The biggest mistake is not starting at all. You can always adjust the strategy as you learn more. You can always optimize as the situation changes. But you can't get back the time that you lose by waiting for the perfect moment. Because the perfect moment doesn't exist. There will always be something else that you think that you need to figure out first. But successful people don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them by taking action. So stop planning and start doing. Stop researching and start implementing. Stop waiting and start building. Your wealthy future self is waiting for you to make the first move.